Good afternoon, Ms. Diane. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's a pleasure for us to open this exposition with my group. Welcome to everyone. We are so nervous because this is the first time we are going to expose a project-based learning, and this is an opportunity to be as strong as teacher. Let's start, and let me mention that we will show the agenda considered in our exposition process. We are going to meet our teachers, we are going to talk about demographics, design influences, fishbowl our unit, the project-based learning roadmap, and we start. Okay, now let's meet our teachers. Gómez Donoso José Luis, then we have two Arevalo Fachin Liz, and the last one is Miss Cancachique Patricia. We are teachers at COAR Ucayali, and we are going to start our classes at the end of this month, and it's going to be a pleasure to start our activities. I'm going to mention a quote, for example, that by Andy Hargreaves. He says that teachers create and transform energy. They are dynamos of educational changes. And this quote shows an interesting part of our career. We need to update knowledge to be worked in the classroom and guide our students. We have the curiosity to achieve the lesson objective in this experience called project-based learning, which will be performed through the implementation of teaching learning strategies and the use of digital tools. As you can see here in my screen, we talk about demographic because it's important to mention as a reminder that our students come from different contexts and their level in English as basic. Our practice tries to strengthen language skill, the weaknesses we find in those students in writing as a skill. This should be greatly improved for their personal and professional development in the future. As you can see here, we have students from Peru. This is located in the border of Brazil, and we have 4 districts here in the Ucayali region. For example, those students represent to a country, and they have a flag in their hands. And that's the reason we say that education is intercultural. Our desire is to explore ways of teaching and learning strategies because these allow us to focus on the weaknesses of writing skill in order to improve them and help our students. Miss Patricia is going to talk about our next steps.
Good afternoon, Diane. Good afternoon, colleagues. Here we have our project, increasing students' performance on organizing their ideas coherently with accuracy to write a text type. I don't understand this at all. I'm so confused. How to think and write in English? These are questions that our students frequently ask in the process of producing different types of texts in English. First of all, teaching and learning English, except for the native language, is thus crucial for communicative purpose to cope with the growing local, national, and international demands for English skills. As we know, writing is a complex skill which most students actually need in order to successfully go through school. In the present project, the writing skill is mentioned as what students mostly need to make huge improvement in increasing students' performance on organizing their ideas coherently with accuracy to write a text type. However, teaching writing is important because written communication is a basic life skill. Students may need to take notes, fill in forms, and write letters, reports, stories. Many need to fill in detailed questionnaires related to health, education, and employment. Sufficient ability of writing skills gives one the confidence and mark his expertise on a particular language. Here we have an essential questions. To what extent does a coherent writing allow us to let people know the purpose of a text type? Hopefully, answering those questions will help us to find a way to use modern and contemporary techniques in our students in an effective manner. The purpose of this study is to identify and suggest probable a solution to effective teaching of productive skill in writing. Here we have an article, Fun Writing, an article, Writing Matters, Creative Writing. In this article, we learned different creative ways to teach structure in creative writing so that we will give students the opportunity to push the boundaries. This give students a chance to practice language they have learned during the lesson or course. It allows us for imagination, are motivating and fun, are demanding in terms of language choice. Creative writing encourages students to exercise their creative minds and practice using their imaginations. And also it improves their ability to come up with alternatives. And it can also give them healthy outlets to navigate their emotions, learn more about the world and themselves, and share this exploration with their peers, friends, and families. And here we have another additional research. Fundamentals of research writing, fundamental writing skills for researchers. Here we have, it's my internet. Based on Rick Lombardo, Director Office of Postdoctoral Studies and Graduate Students Development, here we have fundamental writing skills for researchers. He mentions 7 parts. In part 1, introduction and a snapshot of writing. In part 2, making meaning clear. In part 3, writing myths. How readers read and respond. Part 5, helping your audience interpret your meaning. Part 6, giving structure to your writing. Part 7, writing as logical process. And based on Rick Lombardo, he mentioned that every one of us is capable of being a good writer, even if we don't write well now. We should change our sensibility about writing. every one of us as capable of becoming a good writing. And we should focus on the readers. If you put yourself in the reader's need, if you ask yourself at all times when you are writing, will the reader understand this? Will the reader understand this? And you will be way ahead. Here, and another additional information that we need to this project is the curricular programming document, Ministry of Education in Peru. And in English area, we apply these three competencies. We have competencies: one, communicates orally in English as a foreign language. Number two, read diverse types of text in English as a foreign language. Number three, write different types of text in English as a foreign language. We use these competencies in order to get the expected learning. In the Ministry of Education in Peru, we work with the curricular programming document so that the expected competencies are presented in an organized manner. And these are part of the vision declared in the graduate profile of the students at the end of the basic education. Next presenter is the teacher Jose Luis. Thank you so much.
We consider that writing process must be well organized from the very beginning with activities that promote collaborative work in research. First, students need to know the product they are supposed to achieve along the unit and how they are going to achieve it. We think that students feel more confident and motivated when they know all of these considerations from the very beginning. There will be 5 lessons where students will follow the 5 steps of the writing process to make sure they know in advance what they are supposed to do before moving on to the next step. Pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing are the aspects we are considering. 5 steps for 5 lessons. It was not difficult. It was not difficult to identify our students' needs. As you have seen, our students come from different places. They not necessarily speak Spanish, which become even more difficult the process of communication. The point is that in the previous schools, English was not a priority. That's why most of the students are real beginners. Taking into account all of these considerations, the teacher takes notes and identifies their needs. Finally, the teacher takes actions and reinforces where the students need help. Here we have an example of what we are talking about the writing process and what we consider is necessary to mention. Examining the prompt. Okay, this is the first thing they have to consider. The pre-writing, where they find an inspiration. Drafting, they have to write. They don't care about grammar mistakes, vocabulary. And the step 3, we consider revising. Okay, adding, rearranging, removing, and replacing their text. In the next step, step 4, we consider editing. Self-editing and peer editing become a very important part in this aspect. Here, students will care about spelling, capitalization, pronunciation, grammar, sentence structure, word usage. And finally, in the step 5, publishing, where the students will center their attention into their final draft or final product. We consider that writing process must be well organized. Students will need clear examples where they research skills and collaborative work will also be reinforced. That is why we have also included material that will contribute their re- with their research skills and improve collaborative work, such as the case of this web page, where they can find clear examples of stories. They will also find, or they will also see, the kind of grammar to be used during this process and the vocabulary to be included. There is also another example. We took that examples from the web page. Just let me show you this example. In these stories, children, or well, our teenagers, will find interesting and they will be motivated because they will listen, and at the same time when they can also read the scripts. Constant feedback. Constant feedback with their peers will be an important piece in this process. Using a written checklist, students will continue keeping their track of the progress. They will also need to reflect on their actions and the process, not necessarily at the end, but during the process, by comparing or contrasting their skills before and after the process. And this reflective process will allow them to realize their improvements. As you can see here, there is a checklist designed specifically with the 5 steps of the writing process. As I told you, not necessarily it must be completed at the end of the process. We want students to reinforce in the written production, following and respecting the writing process, and following an implemented plan. Students write a 100 to 120 words length story as the product of the unit. We think, or we consider that we will work in conjunction with the school. Our TIPS project will be presented to the principal, and then if we are successful, we would like to continue working with our coming students.